Ladies and gentlemen, how do?
Hello and welcome to Mondo Street Social Club, a new podcast aimed at bringing creative minds together. Mondo Street is about sharing the creative process, discussing the highs and lows, and talking about how we cope when the creative genie eludes us. Pull up your comfy chair, put in your best headphones, and enjoy the next hour. Hello and welcome to this episode of Mondo Street Social Club. Tonight I'm joined by Scott from Slazarus. Slazarus are a two-piece from Brighton. I think it's fair to say more towards the heavy rock end, Scott?
Yes, I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, good. So, Scott, we'll kick off with why Slazarus? Okay, why the name? I know why, but not everyone else does. And talk to me about how you got this very powerful two-piece together.
So Slazarus. So my name is my family's original surname is Lazarus.
Okay.
Which actually originates from the Ukraine. So my great grandfather, his name was Wolf Lazarus.
Wow.
And emigrated over to England in the 1890s.
Okay.
Which obviously was part of the I don't know what it was in the Russian Federation. But he was Ukrainian. He came over. The family continued to use the name Lazarus up until the 1950s. So my dad was born with the name Lazarus. And they had it changed in the 1950s, mainly because he at school he was having kind of issues because it's a Jewish surname.
Sure.
And he was having quite a bit of aggravation. So they decided to change the surname to an English surname, which is Lester.
Yeah.
Spelled Lester. And the reason they changed it to Leicester was because it was where my grandparents met in the town of Leicester, but they didn't use the spelling. Musically speaking, I've been kind of wanting to reclaim the name, reclaim the surname. So I've kind of performed as a solo artist. Under the name Scott Lazarus, and when we were talking about me and a drum playing together, we said, well, you got S for Scott, Lazarus, so it's S Lazarus or Slazarus, and that's how it's kind of stuck from there, really.
Fantastic. I've got to say, your great grandfather has got the most rock and roll name of all time.
It's so amazing. It's amazing.
Lazarus.
Wolf. I just imagine him some really big burly guy with a big beard and an axe, ready to cut down a tree somewhere. It probably wasn't like that at all, but which is rather funny though that he named his son Henry. Which is about as normal as you could get.
It really is, isn't it? It's kind of like he would be the accountant for the band, while your grandfather will be up front.
Exactly.
That's fantastic. So you performed solo, and then you brought a drummer along. How long have you been performing for now?
So our first gig was April last year, so not very long. We met in about February last year. I was playing solo. The drummer Barney. He was playing drums in another two-piece. And I was like, oh wow, he's a really good drummer, and I can't remember what happened exactly. I think I followed them on Instagram, and I followed him, and then I saw that he was looking to play in a couple more bands.
Yeah.
And I messaged him, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I remember you. I really liked your stuff. Let's get together in a rehearsal and see what happens." And it was one of those straight away.
Yeah.
We just clicked as players. We're both our playing styles very joined together. We're both very rhythmic players.
Yeah.
And he's he's fantastic drummer. Should be drumming for massive bands, to be honest. But we just got on, and it wasn't very long. It was probably about 8 weeks from the first time playing in a rehearsal room to playing our first gig.
Brilliant.
So yeah, we probably rehearsed about 7 or 8 times, and then when I played, and that's been part of our. I think been part of our thing, actually, that we don't over rehearse.
Okay.
Like preparation is good, but I know my songs well, and he's so intuitive and picks things up so quickly that it just works. So and the songs, the songs fit a structure. Most of my songs, I'm not a prog rock artist. I'm a rock songwriter, verse chorus, bridge chorus kind of structure. So he very quickly got a feel for the way that I write and melody, and he knows when I'm kind of going to go into a chorus of a song. He's got that feel. So that's how we started, and it's just not 14 months ago. We've been playing 2-3 gigs a month. And it's kind of been building up over the last couple of months, and our live performances just got better as well. I'm feeling a lot freer as a performer, even though I'm a bit chained because I've got a guitar with me at all times. I'm a little bit kind of more movable around the stage and a bit more interactive than our first few gigs, where I was kind of almost kind of standing on the spot for the duration, and now I'm kind of feeling much more kind of comfortable with playing live.
Yeah, but Barney in one of the videos has got a very snappy teddy boy jacket on.
Oh yeah, he does.
He looks it. He looks at home wearing that. He really does.
And in our last gig we played last week, he wore my girlfriend's pink leather jacket for the first 2 songs.
Good man. So where did your journey with music start then?
Oh wow, geez. Well, I'd say if that kind of phrase, music was born. I was born into music, with music flowing through me. From such a small age, all I remember is music being played in my house, with my parents. Not that my parents were musical in terms of instruments, but music was always on, constantly there. The radio and vinyl being played, the 60s mod generation. So I grew up with the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, the Who, who are my kind of maybe my personal favorites of the era, alongside Motown, that I love, and the folk music scene as well, which I've always drawn inspiration, particularly lyrically, from the likes of Simon and Garfunkel and Bob Dylan and James Taylor, John Denver, all the 60s, 70s singer-songwriters. So and then obviously I developed my own musical taste as I become a teenager, and kind of interwove that with kind of American rock music, alt rock music, and so I've got this kind of this blending of styles, and obviously lyrically as well. Um, a lot of my songs are about things or about the world as rather than necessarily kind of personal songs. I do have some personal songs about relationships and those kind of things, but it's not really the basis of the music. Most of the songs are usually more observational,
Yeah.
about my surroundings.
Okay, because one of the taglines on your Facebook page is music about the human condition, and I think that one of the things that comes across when you look at your lyrics and when you listen to you performing them, that there is a real emphasis on lyrics. You know, the music seems to be taking care of itself as it's rolling along in the background, and it's almost as if you've concentrated on lyrics just that little bit more than the next person.
Yeah, it's always been that thing that I've always cared about really deeply, and the first artists that really struck me in terms of lyrics, and it's very different from the style that we play, but Simon and Garfunkel, Paul Simon. I remember being kind of 14 years old and hearing The Sound of Silence, which is what one of the most amazing lyrics ever written, and just the kind of depth of lyrics, and how kind of how I connected to that
Yeah.
at that age, feeling quite isolated and lonely, and and so music became about the lyrics, and a way of kind of expressing my own feelings and observations,
Mm.
and so it's always been the driving kind of focus for me, with 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 uh with the music.
Yeah, I'm very, very similar to you. You know, there's a lot of bands out there that write some really quite powerful lyrics. They're very talented musicians as well, but it's when you actually sit down and listen. You know, many moons ago in our younger years, we used to have gatefold albums and we could look at the lyrics. Now you can't; it's all electronic. But if you do sit down and read lyrics of really, really good artists, they do tend to transcend. They go that one step further.
Is exactly, and I've never been a genre person, so I've always been attracted to music that speaks to me,
Okay.
and it's obviously lyrics have always been that thing that would most likely hook me
Hmm.
first of all, which I know is maybe a little bit more unusual. If you talk to 9 out of 10 people about music, they're like, oh, it's got a nice, the thing that attracts them to a song is the rhythm, or
Hmm.
that it's a style of music. And I've never been particularly that way, that led in that way. It's always been, oh, okay, then that sounds really interesting, that lyric, or that's unusual, or that's a really interesting observation,
Yeah.
or that's really made me feel a certain way.
Hmm.
And so that's always what's really um grabbed me, and I think that's reflected in the music that I like. It's so diverse
Yeah.
that it transcends a genre.
Yeah. Is there a lyric that pops into your head now that you wish you'd written by somebody else?
There's too many. There's too many. I definitely wish I'd written The Sound of Silence,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's such a genius, and to think that Paul Simon wrote that song when he was 21 years old
It's crazy, isn't it? It's
is
absolutely
is
bonkers.
just insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's definitely probably top of the list of
Yeah.
songs
Okay.
we should
Yeah.
have.
Okay.
Right.
So when you're writing your songs, is Barney involved in the songwriting, or do you do just the main songwriter?
Yeah, so I write the songs, the melody. Um, what's really good about our kind of like playing relationship is that most of the time, yeah, as a songwriter, I have in my head what I think a song should sound like.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
though I usually write on acoustic guitar, I don't write on
Okay.
electric guitar.
Yeah.
But I play pretty much all electric when we play live. But I write an acoustic guitar mainly because for me, again, if you're playing around with lyrics
Mhm.
I always feel if you can write a song well on an acoustic guitar
Yeah.
and it sounds good on an acoustic guitar, then you don't have too many problems when you then uh, amp it up. And the
Yeah.
same way you can sometimes hear a song out there that sounds like, oh, this is a good rocking song, but if
Mm.
you heard an acoustic version, you'd be like, what is this?
Yeah.
What is this? It's not as good. Definitely not as good as I thought the song was. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a different it's a different kind of just a different interaction. Um so yes, I usually start unsurprisingly with the lyrics.
Okay.
So again, the lyrics will guide the feel and direction of the song.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the way that that's the way that I've always been, because I don't know, and different songwriters work in different ways, but if I write a set of lyrics, I already kind of have in my head, even though I may not know the melody, I will already have a feel
Yeah.
for what for the feeling that the song is gonna be like,
Mhm.
whether it's gonna be a little bit, maybe slightly darker tone, whether it's gonna be more acoustic bass or electric. It, the feel will already kind of be there in my head from what I've written.
Yeah.
So that pretty much guides the process.
Okay. That's yeah, because I've seen artists who are writing and they've written the music first, and then they use gobbledygook to form the structure before the
Yeah,
lyrics are in place. But you're doing it the other way
yeah,
around. Yeah, and it's
yeah,
I think one of the things that I noticed when watching your videos and listening to this to your sound was just how, and I say this a lot about two pieces, what a big sound you've got. You know, we look at 3, 4, 5
people
piece
say
bands.
that.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
a two piece for me sometimes brings a bigger sound. I think it's that mixture of only seeing two people but having that audio experience. I saw Royal Blood before they were signed, and that experience has stayed with me to this day. I've never known anything like it. You know, two guys, drummer, bass, noise, like wow, and I get that same kind of vibe from yourself. So it's nice to see two pieces surviving and
yeah,
still being appreciated.
yeah, and we get a lot of people come up after gigs and say, "Wow, that was so big! I can't believe that was just two of you."
Yeah,
And I think again, it's to do with our. I think a big part of it is our playing styles. So, um, uh, Barney's a really good drummer. He does a lot of things with the drums, changing rhythms,
yeah,
feels, and for me as a player, I almost play in a style where some people say, oh, it almost sounds like two guitars
mm,
playing, even though it's just one rhythm. And it's because I play in a way in which my rhythm changes quite a bit throughout a song.
okay,
So the verse or pre-chorus or chorus, I like if you compare it to let's say, an Oasis track. And most Oasis tracks it's a very steady, same rhythm
Definitely,
from
yeah.
beginning to the end of the song, and that's their style, and that's what they're really known for.
Yeah.
But when I play, the verse, the chorus, the bridge, they could have all different rhythms. Now, they're all the songs are pretty much in 4/4 time,
Yeah.
but they will be rhythmically different, and sometimes more than one playing pattern in a section. So and I'd also do a lot of which is very common in folk music, and something that I took a lot of Simon Garfunkel. I do a lot of what's called hammer-ons and pull-offs.
Yeah.
And those create like a underneath melodic melody. Even with all the distortion, you start to get like a twang that would sometimes be played by another guitarist. And so you've got the bass of the heavy strings, and then you've got the melodicness coming through on all those kind of bits that I'm playing at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's what you're not compensating, because there isn't anything missing. But if you did have a bass player or a second guitarist, they would be the people that were changing their root notes or changing their chord patterns to support you. What you're doing, quite miraculously, is being two guitarists and a bass player all at once, which is damn impressive. Well done, because it does sound big. Do you have anything in your pedal board which is aimed specifically at sound, or is it a fairly standard board?
I use a Zoom G3 box. It's three settings and the pedal. I found my setting that I use, and I don't actually change it at all for any song. So I tend to change tone on my Strat. So obviously with the Strat, you've kind of got 4 or 5 tones, and I'll kind of use that more as the tone change. But I don't alter the core sound, because I managed just to get a really good sound from the pedal. And so as soon as that plugs into an amp, and sometimes I even plug straight into a PA system with it. And again, that makes it just come alive. You've got this one guitar that's coming out in the stereo PA system. And so it hits you. It really kind of hits you. So I don't kind of mess around too much with the pedals.
Okay, and that's another unusual thing, because you find that most guitarists have a plethora of pedals, and they are forever changing it. But what you're doing is you're doing the tone from the instrument.
Yes,
not at the signal point. So that again is something quite unique. So
I think if I had tons of money, I'd probably have. I'd rather have 10 guitars with 10 different sounds from the guitars than have 10 pedals trying to do a million different things. And sometimes it's funny, you go to gigs and you go watch other bands, and they pull up with this pedal board that's as tall as me, and sometimes they do amazing do some amazing things with them, but I don't know. I don't know. I think I've never been. I think I've never been that kind of interested in kind of pedals and all the kind of way out sounds you can get with guitar. As I've probably come across. I want a sound. I know the sound, and then everything else is about the song in terms of melody and lyric.
Yeah, cool, excellent. So during your writing process, and this is something I ask everybody, how do you cope when you've got like writer's block. It just isn't coming out. What's your secret for getting out of that situation?
It's interesting. I think and I listen to a lot of I love listening to songwriters speak about writing songs, and um sometimes the songs have come almost as a song.
Mhm.
So what has been written lyrically ends up being 80% of what the actual song will be.
Yeah.
And then other times it's come about by writing a little bit here, writing a little bit there, and then almost kind of amalgamating sometimes two different things that have been written. That yeah, actually that goes with that, and amalgamating that together. But I've always I've always I've always I've always felt that the songs that come kind of quickly and they just come through you and you just write them down. I've always, for me, have always almost been the more powerful songs.
Okay.
There's been not too much kind of wrangling to fight with it, because sometimes you can lose something in that kind of battle with a song.
Yeah, I had this with a previous guest that I think there was a quote from somebody really famous, and forgive me, I forget who it was, that the biggest enemy of creativity is perfectionism, something like that, where you spend so long trying to finesse that final
and no
word,
that
final chord, and
no one cares.
And it's killed the song. Yeah, the only person that realizes that you put an augmented seventh in is you.
Well, this is the thing, and this goes for, I think, a lot of different streams, particularly with creativity and for musicians as well. That a lot of musicians are perfectionists, and so we tend to just agonize over every little thing. To the extent in that you don't actually then do a lot, because it's the thing that I find the most agonizing in that way with perfectionism is around recording.
Okay.
That it's always been painful for me, because I will go over and over and over and spend, and you can do. I mean, you could literally spend infinity going over one song and tweaking a 10K frequency on that instrument, or you can drive yourself crazy. And in the end you almost got to think, which is sometimes the case, no one cares. Right? No one cares. It's only you that cares about it, and it's only you that notices it. Most people, wouldn't notice that. Oh, by the way, that electric guitar has got an extra 2 dB in the 5K range.
That is so true.
It's just become silly. But that it's because we're passionate about what we do, and so we become perfectionists about it. But you got to know when to kind of walk away, and I think that definitely with recording, that's always been something that I've really struggled with.
One thing I noticed, so I went to your website, scottlazarus.com. Okay. Scott with 2 T's for all those people that are going to go there now. And you've very kindly put up quite a lot of live material and your studio tracks, but none of them are on streaming websites. So your Spotify's, your Apple. Tell me the story why.
Why? So maybe one of the last diminishing few that dislike streaming platforms.
Okay.
I mean, I don't have a streaming subscription of any sort myself. I think I've always been very aware of how the music industry has changed over the course of the last 20 years. And whilst you can't you can't turn back time with any of this stuff. It is what it is. It's the same when you had CD piracy went crazy in the early 2000s. You can't turn it back. But there's a part of me that's just been wanting to hold on to that, and there's no doubt that probably at sometime in the next year that we will have stuff on those platforms, but I mean aside from it being there as people add music to their playlists, and so then it becomes almost background music because it's not necessarily kind of being listened to in a traditional sense. And I've always I do struggle with that change that's happened in the way that just music is treated and approached as a basically a disposable commodity that has pretty much zero value anymore in terms of recorded music. And it is more of a promotional tool now than it is anything else. And even big bands nowadays, they don't make any money from streaming or recording albums or anything. They use it as a promotional tool for touring and selling merchandise. I mean that's what it's become. So I think there's an inevitability that we'll end up doing it for that reason. But I mean, the first thing I'd like to do maybe more is to upload a lot of live videos to YouTube.
Yeah, that'd be good.
And have a live YouTube channel with all the live footage. We've kind of got a lot of live footage together. I film everything that we do. And it's nice because you get different sounds and different settings and different interactions. So yes, and then we've just as us two together, we did some recording sessions together towards the end of last year, which I haven't really done that much on. The material on the website is stuff that I've recorded over the last couple of years, and it's a lot more kind of going on in the material than a kind of two piece. So we've kind of been working on trying to record to give a sound that is replicated if somebody was to come and see us. Which a lot of the stuff on the website at the moment, some of it is more as it would be as a two piece, but a lot of it has got kind of layers of things going on. So we wanted to record our live sound, as it were. But it's always very hard to. It's always hard. It's harder to replicate a two piece live sound on recording than it is actually live itself, and that's my difficulty in a recording. You feel the emptiness a little bit more than when it's live and it's in your face. So
given the love of all things retro at the moment, with everyone going back to vinyl and cassette tapes, you might actually be cutting edge with keeping your stuff on your own website. People might start reverting to that. Scott, we're coming to the end of our time now. This episode's going out on next Monday. So have you got any gigs that are coming up that you'd like to promote?
So we've got a few gigs coming up. We've got a live show at the Good Mixer in London. That's on the 6th of August.
Okay.
On the 17th of August, we're playing the Fiddler's Elbow in London.
Nice.
And then on the 21st of August, Monday, 21st of August, we're playing at the Temple in Eastbourne.
Fantastic.
So that's what we've got lined up.
Okay, so everybody that can't make it to any of those live gigs, you can go to Scott Lazarus, that's Scott with 2T's.com, and there's a lot of songs on there that you can sample, have a listen to, and then try and find another Slazarus gig. On Instagram, they are Slazarus Band. Give them a follow. There's a heck of a following. Well done. And there's a lot of video footage on there.
Not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
Yes, so in Instagram is where we post most of all and have most interaction, and that gets updated most regularly. So it's the best place to keep track of us and what's going on.
And there is a lot on there. So all I've got to say now, Scott, is thank you very, very much for being on the show. Whenever you've got anything that you want to promote, give me a shout. Come back on.
Thank you for having us.
All about it. Love the sound.
Thank you.
Love the fact that you're a two-piece. And thank you for being so interested. It's been a great interview. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Thank you to our guest. As always, please like, share and subscribe. Feel free to hit us up on any of the socials. And our website is www.mondostreet.co.uk. Looking forward to seeing you again on our next episode. Bye.